Hi, welcome back to Jason's How-Tos and Reviews. I'm going to be showing you today my comparison between a DJI Mavic Mini, the original Mini, and recently purchased DJI Mavic Air 2. I realize both of these are not brand new drones, but if you're like me and it's a hobby and you don't want to spend a ton of money on it, the newer drones that have come out make these a little bit more entry level. So I got this one lightly used and really good shape still, and I've been really happy with it. I'll be honest though, there's some things I actually like better about the Mini. So I'm going to show you that, kind of what comes with each. I had a fly more combo with both of them and give you some pros and cons. So first of all, here is the carrying case for both of them, the Mini here and the Air 2 here. I like the shoulder strap on the Air 2. I like that it's a little bit easier to bring with. This has got to be put in a backpack pretty much because it has a handle, but not much else. I do like that this is a hard shell. That is nice, although it's still not super hard. The other thing is the Air 2 is nice that it's compact, but I feel like it's hard to fit a charger in here. The charger is kind of big and bulky and awkward, and I've yet to find a way to fit it in here without feeling like it's going to bend and mess up the cables or something like that. But let's open these up and see what's inside. So there are a couple more things that the Fly More combo includes that I don't bring with me. It has a cage that goes around the propellers, either for flying indoors or different things like that. But the main things that I bring with me are the drone, of course, which comes with this gimbal protector, and the props will kind of flop around, but really it does a good job of protecting it. I just make sure that they're pointing the right way when I slide it in there, and it fits really snug. The controller, and this is nice that it's so compact. I bought a little range extender that I'll show you that goes over these antenna, and then this folds down. Now, one thing I don't love about this controller is that my phone does not fit super well into it. With the case on, I mean, it still fits in those grooves here and here, but when I try and close it down, then the connector is kind of goofy, so the connector goes right in the side. That's the other thing I bring with me, is just the one that matches my phone. Got a little spider on here. But it just, yeah, it's almost too long, so it gets squished up this way. Anyway, I don't love that. It's not the end of the world, but I like that it is so compact, and then you've got the little control sticks that hide in there that you twist on if you're going to fly it with the control sticks. The thing I really like about the Mavic Mini is how the charger is set up. This is so smart. I wish they would have done this with the Air 2, because you've got all three batteries that slide in there. If you push this little button, it'll show you the battery level on each one. Not sure if you can see those lights, but it's compact, and you can use a USB charger that everyone already has to just plug that in and charge them. Super compact, keeps them together. They're not bouncing around inside of the case. And then these are just some extra propellers. That's how it came packaged. I've just never taken them out. But there's the case and everything that comes with the Mavic Mini. Now let me show you the case for the Mavic Air 2. So there's a lot of different compartments here. This one feels to me like it's mostly for, like, I don't know if you want your user's manual in there or something. It's a pretty thin, narrow pocket. It also has this little handle. So it has a shoulder strap, and then there's a handle right here, which I find to be pretty handy. So no pun intended. I'm gonna flip that over here now so I can show you the other side. So this is, well, maybe not totally waterproof. It's a nice zipper that's gonna protect that quite a bit if it starts to rain or something. So again, I like how this is set up. I can slide the drone right in there, and I can slide, this is a anti-collision light I just bought, so I haven't used that yet. But the remote fits in there really well. Of course, the remote is bigger, but it's still pretty compact. Still fits in there nicely. And then the three batteries, I've got one in the actual drone, and like I said, the other ones kind of flop around a little bit because they're just in there. The batteries are bigger, the charger's kind of awkward. Now there's a couple other pockets. There's one kind of pocket right there. I think that's where the other chargers are. And then there's another one right in the top here. Now a couple things that I love that this comes with. First of all, ND filters. That is awesome to have. Now I'm going to do another little video showing how to put the ND filters on, because it's a little bit tricky if you don't know what you're doing, but it's actually super simple. ND 16 is the one I almost always have on, and there's a 64 and a 256, and then that's just the clear one in the middle. So that is so awesome. And then I've got some extra props in here. The other thing that's kind of cool is there's this little connector where you can put this on your battery and then use your battery as like a power bank. So that's kind of cool. Power button is still right here. You'll hear it kind of power on. And then we're gonna find somewhere to set it. Okay, so we're just gonna take off right off the case. There we go. Now I'm gonna tell you a couple things while we're looking at this. Almost every single time this Mavic Mini requires compass calibration, and the Air 2 I have never had to do it. And so that's one big benefit to me, is I don't have to do the annoying compass calibration. I don't know why it makes me do it every single time. Okay, so we're gonna take off here.
Has been updated. Please check it on the map.
There I am. Okay, so we're gonna take off. Gonna fly around a little bit here. And I'm gonna tell you some other things, pros and cons here. Here's some beautiful St. George for you. For one thing, it sounds like a mosquito. It really does. It just is kind of an annoying high-pitched sound, but pretty sturdy, pretty stable with the rotation. Does a pretty good job with stability. The one thing I have noticed though, if you were doing, for example, you're trying to do your own HDR, you might as well forget about it, because it just does not work well. There's too much movement, even on a calm day, between shots. It just moves around too much and is not staying stable. So flying around a little bit here. Watching the speed here, the highest I'm getting to is about 20, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 miles an hour. Almost 29 there. So it moves pretty decently. Yeah, there's 29. So I'm only 1,000 feet away. I'm already losing my signal here. It's getting splotchy. There's a much better connection. Oh, yeah, I totally lost it. There's a much better connection with the Mavic Air 2. I'm gonna have to get to a spot where it can see me. It will return to home if it doesn't get a signal within a certain amount of time. Oh, maybe it's already working on it. Even here though, it's just splotchy. Like, one thing I do like about this one, okay, let's cancel, is it is pretty easy to catch it by hand, because it's so small and light. And I tried catching the Air 2 by hand, and it resisted me. So I'll show you that right now if I can. Okay, there we go. So, a couple other things. We'll just use this to film for a second. A couple other things. It's fun that it's so little. It's fun to fly. It's super small, easy to bring along. But stability when it's flying is a big thing, especially if you're trying to take like an HDR image. It doesn't have a really great range. That's a downside for sure. There's not a real good dynamic range either. And so trying to get really good, like I've done videos where I'm looking at the sunrise or sunset, and it just doesn't capture it very well. Obviously the image quality is not as high as some of the higher end drones. So some things to consider. overall I've liked it. It's been a really fun entry-level drone. I think for the price it's really good, but if you can afford a little bit more to get a Mavic Air 2, it's definitely a better drone. It flies real similarly, but a lot better range, a lot better dynamic range, a lot better quality on the pictures and videos and all that sort of thing.
The home point has been updated. Please check it on the map.
Okay, so a couple things with the Mavic Air 2. First of all, it is just plain fun to fly. Does not sound quite so whiny. So let me show you a couple of the different options here. So 48 megapixel photo, which is awesome. Then there is a single capture, a smart capture, which is kind of like an auto HDR is the best way I could explain it. And then there's AEB, which is going to give you different exposures. So you can set that to 3 or 5. And then burst if you're trying to capture like something, trying to capture someone on a wakeboard or something like that, for example. And then time shots, you can have this take pictures every 10 seconds, every 20 seconds, every 30 seconds. And in contrast, if we're looking at pictures on the Mavic Mini, it just has single. Now you can change a lot of the same things on the Mavic Mini, but it does not shoot in RAW. You can't change the white balance. I'm trying to think what else you can't change on the Mavic Mini. You can change shutter speed and ISO. Now let's go back here. If we're looking at video, we have normal, we have HDR video, which is cool, and then slow motion. And then again down here we can change our settings. So this is telling me it's 1080p, 120 frames per second. If I want to go back to HDR, I guess HDR is just auto, but then normal, we can change the resolution. We can change, now the zoom I'm quite sure is just a digital zoom, so something to be aware of there. Lots of different options as far as shutter speed, all in 4K, so that's really cool. And then if we go to quick shots, there's definitely some more options here that we don't have in the Mavic Mini. The Mavic Mini has these first 4. It has droney, rocket, circle, and helix. It does not have boomerang or asteroid. So that's kind of cool. And then our very bottom one here, or sorry, not our bottom one, hyperlapse. So there's a couple different options with the hyperlapse of how you can do that. I'm not going to go into detail of that. You can find that somewhere else. But this is an 8K hyperlapse, which is pretty cool. And pano, there's several different options with pano. Neither of these are available on a Mini. No pano, no hyperlapse. But pretty much you have a sphere where it's going to create that cool mini world effect that you've probably seen on Facebook. There's 180 degree hyperlapse, there's a wide angle, there's a vertical. So those are options with panos. I'll show you real quick. So super convenient. You just set up your shot, click the button, and it's going to do everything for you. Starts in the center, goes to one side. And then comes back to the other side. So really easy and convenient. Now another thing that's really cool that this drone has is a tracking function. We'll grab this water tower, okay? And we're gonna do, so there's a lot of these, and I'm not gonna go into super detail, but if we do spotlight, for example, then as I fly, no matter where I go, it's gonna keep my drone pointed at that spot, even if I'm moving elsewhere. So that's pretty cool. You can also do active track, where if it's a moving vehicle, for example, it will track it for you. Or you can also do point of interest, where it will instead move around that object and show you, and you can speed it up or slow it down. So that's kind of cool as well. And again, that's something that you don't have available on the Mavic Mini. Right on the actual remote itself, you can change from tripod to, which is like their cinema mode. So there's cinema, and then normal, and then sport mode. Well, let me show you sport real quick. So we don't have obstacle avoidance, but we do have a flippin' fast drone. So I'm already at 39, 40, I think 41 is about as fast as I've got it. Oh no, there's 42. So that's pretty darn cool as well. We're almost at 43. Oh, we're losing. Okay, even here we lost signal, so that's I'm kind of in a low spot here. We're gonna go climb again. There we go. I climbed up high enough. Auto returning to home. Okay, we can cancel that. So I'm gonna turn it off of sport mode because there's no obstacle detection. A couple other cool things over on the menu, we can set a couple more things. So for example, if any of these sensors go off, is it going to just move around it or stop, or do I want it off, which I don't? Do we want the radar map on there? What's the max altitude? Like I said, it is hard to land it in your hand, which is a little bit of a bummer, because being somewhere like here, there's not a really flat landing spot for me. Okay, so for size comparison, I've got these both laid out side by side. The remotes at the top, the drones themselves in the middle, and then the batteries and charging apparatus at the bottom. So I'm going to come a little bit closer here. First of all, looking at the drones themselves, that's what we care most about here. You can see a difference in the prop size and the drone size. The weight is pretty noticeably different. The battery size, the sensor and camera and quality of image, of course, is quite a bit different. The remotes, you can see the antenna, which also is where the phone attaches on the Air 2 remote on the left, and then the phone goes below on the remote for the Mini on the right. And then, like I said before, I actually think that the battery case and charging is quite sleek on the Mini. I like it better than how the battery charging works on the Air 2. It's less cumbersome and bulky, and also convenient that you can just use a micro USB cable that you have rather than having to lug around this extra cable that's connected to the Air 2 charger. And you need a flat surface with the Air 2, because if not, these batteries are easily going to get knocked out or knocked sideways. They just kind of sit onto this here, and or this is going to get knocked out. And so a little bit tricky with the battery charging situation there. Definitely has a lot longer battery life. I've been really impressed with the battery life of the Air 2 after having been used to flying the Mini. But it does come at a cost. So the way that the arms are going to fold in and out is going to be identical between the Mavic Mini and the Air 2. Now, one thing that is a little bit of a flaw in design, if you ask me, on the Mavic Air 2 is, in order to get the battery out, you have to lift these arms out, which is not a huge inconvenience, but it's okay. In order to get the memory card out, you have to lift 3 arms out. Well, I guess you just do 2. You do that side, but there's a memory card. And in order to either get to the internal memory, you also have to push down that other arm. So just a little bit of an inconvenience. Now, the other thing that I will show you that's kind of cool is there's a pretty bright auxiliary light right here. That way, if it's getting to dusk or you're just in a really shaded area, these optical cameras aren't going to get thrown off trying to tell where the ground is and make your drone crash. So I'm a fan of that. Now, I'd have to say one of my most favorite things about the Air 2 and the remote, this little micro USB just plugs right into here to store it away, and you can plug your phone right in and put it in there. The other thing that's really cool is that the little joysticks with the Mini, if you don't take them out before you put your phone in, it's too late and you can't get them out. But these ones, this one, your phone goes in the top and the joysticks go in the bottom, so even if you've already got your phone set up, you can still grab the joysticks, which is pretty cool. Okay, so final thoughts walking back here. I think that this is a good entry-level drone. I think that the size is really small, which is fun, but it's also really hard to keep visual line of sight because it's so little and kind of light gray. It's very, very easy to lose. And so much easier to keep an eye on something like an Air 2S or an Air 2, just because it is small. Not a lot of range, but again, since you have to keep visual line of sight, that's not necessarily the end of the world. I like the charger. I like the battery. Battery life has pretty consistently been between 25 and 29 minutes, which is what they advertise, so it does a good job there. But overall, I think it's a good drone to get started with. I don't think I really would use it for anything professional. It's just not quite high enough quality, but lots of fun just to fly around and a really good one to start with. As far as which do I prefer, hands down, the Mavic Air 2 does a better job, flies better, takes better pictures, better video, has some more options, which are all good things. Well, I hope this has been helpful for you. If it is, I'd appreciate if you could leave comments or questions below. Likes, subscribes are helpful for more helpful content. And come visit southern Utah, where you can come see these pretty cliffs where I'm filming and where these hawks are starting to circle around my drone and making me nervous. All right, that's all for me.